this is Cindy, and today I'm going to be planting my cold frame bed that my husband built for me so that I can extend the life of my garden through the winter. Do you want to hear what I'm planting? So, I have a ton of Egyptian walking onions from this past season. I'm going to be planting some of those so that we have consistently green onions throughout the winter. And then also some of the bulbs will get bigger so we can have a little bit bigger bulbs. I'm also going to be planting some root crops. I got a variety mix of carrots, beets, and radishes. And so I'm going to plant those so that we can have some root crops over the winter. I'm also planting a couple of herbs. I'm only going to plant a couple plants, but that way maybe we can have some fresh herbs during the winter, some basil and some dill and cilantro. I'm putting some in cilantro. And then last I'm going to plant some greens variety. I'm planting Swiss chard and spinach are the seeds that I have on hand right now. I'm going to have to go out and get some lettuce and arugula and some fun stuff like that, but our goal is to have some microgreens throughout the winter to be able to eat fresh. So let's get started planting. So I have this planned out where I'm going to put my herbs on this side, and then I'm going to alternate my onions and my roots until I get over there, and I'll have a section that's going to be specific to microgreens. My first herb I'm putting in is going to be basil. Here we go. Now these only need to be planted about 1/4 inch deep. So we don't need to plant them too deep. Now these seeds should germinate in 7 to 10 days. And they will be ready for harvest after you get the second set of leaves on them. And these seeds are tiny. I'm going to probably put in, I'd say I'll put about, well, you know what, I'm just going to finish off this pack. So I have a few seeds here, just in case there's any in there. Alright. The next thing I'm planting will be dill. And these come from my garden. I plant, and I'm just interspersing them. And you know what? I'm going to throw in some extra dill and plant around anyways. I don't mind if it comes up. I love having more than less. And cilantro. Again, the dill and herb, just as the basil, will be planted at a depth of about 1/4 inch. I'm not really concerned with spacing. I know there are spacing guidelines, but I tend to grow a lot in one space, or grow them together, bunched together. I've never had a problem with it. The basil doesn't generally get as big when you do that way, but this won't be my permanent basil either. I'll have some in the spring, so I'm not really worried about it. Will you pass me that water, please? Yes, ma'am. And I'm going to go ahead and spray them a little bit. I'm not going to get the soil too wet because this glass is going to create a very humid environment in here. But I want to go ahead and, well, first of all, I want to see where I've actually planted. But then I want to go ahead and kind of get just a fine layer of water in there. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to plant are some walking onions. Now I have a ton of these walking onions. The onions will get planted at a depth of about a 1/2 inch, as well as the other root crops. So the root vegetables mix that I got are the seed tape. So all I have to do is plant this tape of seeds at the depth of about a 1/2 inch. And I'm just going to come through here. I'm going to make a trough all the way down through here and cover it with my dirt. Okay, let's see. Like I said, I'm going to alternate onions and roots. So those roots went here, so I'm going to put in a layer of onions here, of root crops and the onions, and then all the rest of this space here I'm going to leave for microgreens. So this is my area for my microgreens. I'm planting spinach, nasturtium, Swiss chard, and mustard. And I'll come back after I get some more arugula and lettuce. I'll come back and, oops, I put too much on there, but that'll be okay. So I'm going to come back and add to these greens over time. I'm going to come through, lightly mist my seeds again, the rest of them that I didn't get earlier, and my root crop. Voila! And so now it's planted. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to close the frame and I'm going to let the seeds germinate. It'll get nice and humid in there. And so when the seeds start germinating, then based on what the weather is like, I'll vent it and we'll go from there. Now, as far as what I have planted, the herbs are going to take, a couple of weeks or so. Well, it'll take about a week-ish, give or take, for the seeds to germinate. And then it'll take a few weeks before I can really start harvesting any of it. But once I get a few leaves in there, then I can start clipping a few leaves at a time. The microgreens, when they start coming up, I can start harvesting them and start replacing them as I need to. Like I said, I'm going to plant a few more different varieties of greens in there. So I'm definitely going to have to revisit this. But nonetheless, I'd be revisiting it over the winter, especially for my root crops anyways. As I start harvesting root crops, then I'm going to want to replace that with something else. The root crops themselves, they'll take anywhere from about a month to about 3 months to be able to harvest those. So the radishes are on the early side. The radishes generally only take 21, 28 days, somewhere in that ballpark, depending on the variety of radish. And then the carrots, carrots will take a little bit longer to harvest until harvest. And then the beets will take the longest. The beets, I think, generally take about 80 days before they're ready to harvest. So they're going to take a lot longer. I think that's pretty much all of them. So if you liked the video, please hit the like button. And if you want to see more content like it, please subscribe to the channel.